Good morning, gay people, and welcome back to my makeup tutorial series. Today we are going to be covering cream foundation, highlight, and contour. So I'm going to send it over to Past Zelda and give you all the rundown. Okay, so I have moisturized, primed, color corrected, and concealed, and we are now ready to go in with our foundation. So I go in with the Mehron cream stick, and I start with the pure white shade. And the reason I do that is because I want my highlights to be really bright. And so by going in with the white first, it's not going to mix in too much with my darker foundation color. And I can always contain the white, but it's hard to add more white on top of already dark foundation. And so I just go in with a whole bunch of this in the center of the face. So our forehead, under the eyes, above the mouth, and on the chin. I want to keep attention on the center of the face. And we want to blend that out with a sponge. And remember, we're blending by tapping, not dragging. You want to just buff the product out. You don't want to drag it around anywhere because you don't want those streaky lines. And the edges don't have to be perfectly blended because we're going in with so much other product. But we want to get our whole nose. And the eyes for good measure. I look great. So now we are going in with the Mehron Creamblend Stick Foundation in the shade Light 2, and I'm going to go all around the white with that, including down the neck. And honestly, don't worry too much about your drag foundation matching your skin tone. It's probably not going to, especially because you're going to be highlighting and contouring so fiercely. And so what I like to do is I match it more so to like my arms, as opposed to like my chest. So now with this, I like to go in with a dense foundation brush. This one has a ton of foundation on it to just buff that out. Don't be like me, kids. Wash your brushes. All right, so once we've done that, I'm just gonna go soften up those edges with a sponge. But notice how I didn't take it into my highlight because we don't wanna get rid of it. So now that we've done that, it's time for our cream contour. So I do not use the Mehron Creamblend Stick for contour. I use the Ulta Beauty Moisturizing Foundation Stick. It is specifically the contour stick and it's in the shade Light. And so this is a cool tone contour. And what I really like about this is that it blends really, really nicely and it's a very subtle, cool tone contour. And what's really important is you want to contour with a cool tone color because it creates natural shadows. And especially when you're doing drag makeup, which is very harsh, you don't want to look like you just have shit smeared on your face. You want it to look like you're actually rearranging your facial structure. And so instead of using a warm toned shit brown, you want to go in with this cool tone brown. And what I like to do is I suck in my cheeks and follow this line that gets created under my cheekbone. Because a lot of people, they'll go like from their mouth down here, but your cheekbone is up here. And when you're contouring your cheekbones, you want higher cheekbones. And so what I like to do is go under here and up like that. And then I like to go around the forehead and on the jaw. And with the jaw contour, I like to bring that down. Because if you don't bring it down far enough, it's just going to look like a little chin strap. And so you want to make sure it blends seamlessly into your neck foundation. So I like to blend that out with a dense foundation brush. I find that when I'm working with such a light and subtle product, using a sponge will sometimes take away too much of the product. We don't want to move this line too much. We want to keep that where it is. We just want to soften it a little bit. So I'm tapping very lightly right on the line. And what that's doing is it's both bringing the contour up a little bit and the foundation down a little bit and blending them together to create a bit of a seamless transition, which looks a little bit harsher on camera than it is in person. But it will also be softened out once we go in with powders and whatnot. Oh, it looks skinnier already. So I'm gonna go back in with my sponge and just kind of clean up the edges a little bit. Just really marry everything together, especially down here. And now the contour is a little bit light, but we want that because we want to be able to go back in later and darken it with powders, because you can make it darker, but it's really hard to make it lighter. And so that is that for the cream foundation products. So now I'm going to do my nose contour and my eyebrows in other videos, and I will be back to set my face. Now that we have finished all of our creams, what I like to do is I like to just go in with a sponge one last time and just kind of go over all of my face just to make sure everything is nice and seamlessly blended, there's no creasing or anything, and then we're going to go in with our powder. So my powder of choice, I use the Ben Nye Neutral Set Translucent Powder. I love this stuff. It's pretty cheap. I buy like multiple of the like big containers at a time. It doesn't affect the color of the makeup, which I really like. I used to use like a mixture of that and Airspun, but the Airspun really just like changes the color a little bit, and I don't like that. And so I like to go in, I use a beauty blender. I really need to get myself like a big powder puff just to kind of like smack the powder on, but I don't have one. So we're using the sponge for right now. So I like to start at the bottom and work my way up. And that's so that powder doesn't fall onto unset parts of the face and make it a little lumpy. So I like to start at the neck. I want to use a lot of powder. Now once I've set my neck, I go in with my lower face. Hold your breath when you're going around your mouth and your nose. Now before I do my under eyes, I like to go in with a sponge and just get rid of that creasing that's starting under the eye. So now once the creasing is gone, before I move, I set it. I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. Now I'm gonna do the nose. I use a lot of powder on my nose because that's where I tend to get the most oily, and that kind of ruins my whole nose contour scenario that I have going on. So I like to use a ton of powder. And so now I'm going to do the same thing I did under my eyes, but to my actual eyelids, where I'm going to keep them closed, blend them out, and then before they can crease again, we set. And I do extra powder along my forehead because that's where a lot of the sweat comes from. Now that we are successfully covered in powder, I'm going to take the big fluffy brush and dust everything off. And that's it for the creams. And here we have the final look. Thank you guys so much for watching once again, and I will see you next time.